Good night everyone, Richard Wong here. So in the last few years, we have seen a couple of new lens manufacturers from China. For example, the Metacon, Curly, Laowa. Some of them have already established a pretty good reputation because they have created a couple of high quality lenses. Also very good price, and some of them has pretty good unique selling point. For example, very fast aperture or some unique feature. So what we're going to look at today is a lens from a new lens manufacturer from China. This is the 7Artisan 7.5mm fisheye f2.8 lens for micro four thirds cameras. I think most of us only heard about them a couple of months ago when they announced a couple of new lenses. The one that most people are talking about is their 15mm f1.1 lens for the M mount. But today we are looking at a different one, the fisheye lens that is also very interesting because the price is very cheap. I think it's around $150 USD, which is I think the cheapest fisheye lens for the micro four thirds cameras. So the 7Artisan 7.5mm f2.8 lens is a manual focus lens, pretty compact in size, but also feel very dense because of its metal construction. It's a manual focus ring and a aperture ring. They are both pretty smooth, but I do feel a little bit play when you try to move it. The aperture ring is declicked, so as I'm a photographer, I would really prefer it to have clicks. So the manual focus ring has a pretty long travel. I think it's around 110 degrees or so. This is pretty long for a fisheye lens, as normally you don't need a very precise focusing. So the lens does have built-in metal lens hood, which is also removable like this. But then I don't know why anyone want to remove it, because the lens hood is not that big or deep, but on the other hand, it does provide a bit of physical protection to the front element, because let's see if we can focus on it. The front element, it does extrude quite a bit, so without the lens hood, it's quite easy to bump into something and damage the front element. And also because the lens cap that comes with the lens, it does attach to the lens hood. So if you remove the lens hood, then the lens cap cannot be attached to the lens. So yeah, and talk about the lens cap. When I first got the lens, I was not really impressed by the lens cap because I find it really hard to remove and put it back. Every time I do that, I feel like I'm going to damage the paint on the lens hood. But after using it for a week or so, I think it loosened slightly, and now it feels pretty good when you put it on or take it off. It is tight, but not I don't feel like I'm going to rip off the paint or anything, and it's also not going to fall off when I hold it, even hold it upside down or put it in the camera bag. That is pretty good. Just like a lot of third-party manual focus lens in the market these days, the 7Artisan fisheye lens also has no electronic contacts at the around the lens mount. So as you can see, nothing there. It's just a dumb lens mount. Now while that is pretty normal, one thing I do find not so normal is you may, if you have watched my unboxing video, at the end of it I found that I could actually mount the lens onto the camera. Sorry, can't show you the camera because I'm using it to film this video. I can mount it in the incorrect way. So instead of normally you line up the red dot to the red dot, but you know, a lot of time I don't actually look at it. I just roughly I know where the red dot is. I just try to put it together and then try to twist it. And a few times I actually not align. Normally, if you don't align the red dot to red dot, you couldn't push it into the mount. But with this lens, I actually could push it into the mount, and I can rotate it. The only thing is, of course, I can't actually lock it onto the camera because it's not mounted correct way. This is something that I have never it has never ever happened to me with all the other lenses, no matter it's the first party or the third party one. While I don't think it will cause any damage, but it is a bit of worry because you may not notice you mounted incorrectly and then you wonder why you turn on the camera, then there's no image. Or even worse, you mount it on, you thought it's secure, but it's not, and then the lens might suddenly fall off from the camera. So yeah, this is this is a bit of issue for this lens. I think the main reason is probably some of the tabs at around the lens mount. Can't see which one. I think this one is actually a bit shorter than what it should be when I compare it to the other lenses. So that allows it to be mounted in the incorrect way. So after I upload my unboxing video to YouTube and onto my Facebook, one of my readers, Sean, messaged me just saying, hey, why don't you compare the lens, the 7Artisan fisheye lens with the Samyang one, because they are all mainly focus fisheye lens for Micro Four Thirds, and they are both have a very affordable price. I said, yeah, that's a pretty good idea, but let me see if I can find one. And he said, yeah, I have one. Yeah, do you want to borrow it for a review? I said, oh, that would be great. And then he dropped it off to me. So thank you very much for that. And so because of that, I have both the 7Artisan and the Samyang lens together that I did a bit of comparison review between the two. So as you can see, the Samyang is a little bit smaller than the 7Artisan, but having said that, they're both relatively compact. They are both manual focus lens. The Samyang is quite a bit more expensive than the 7Artisan. Having said that, they are both still reasonably cheap. So first, let's talk about the center sharpness. So I took quite a few set of comparison photos to see how the two lenses compare to each other. And the 7Artisan is pretty good in terms of the center sharpness. f2.8, slightly soft, but still usable. f4 is better, and then f5.6 and f8, then it's much better. Now, in comparison, the Samyang is definitely much sharper. Even at the maximum aperture, which is f3.5, you can see it is quite a bit sharper than the 7Artisan. And when you stop down f4, again, it's sharper, noticeably sharper than the 7Artisan, and then 5.6 f8 also sharper. So yeah, the center sharpness wise, I think the 7Artisan is okay, but Samyang is definitely the sharper lens out of the two. Next, look at the corner sharpness. And this time, surprisingly, the 7Artisan is the sharper lens out of the two. Even at f2.8, the corner sharpness is actually not too bad already, because a lot of the time the fisheye lens or ultra wide angle lens, the corner performance, the sharpness is pretty bad at wide open. But surprisingly, the 7Artisan is not that bad at f2.8. At f4 is better, and then f5.6 is even better. In comparison, the Samyang's corner performance is definitely not as good. F2, not 2.8, at f3.5, f3.5 is quite soft. Stop down to f4, slightly better, but not much improvement. 5.6, it become a little bit more sharper, but I think it's down to f8 that it become reasonably sharp. So the 7Artisan is definitely the better in terms of the corner sharpness. And the reason why I think is because the 7Artisan is actually a fisheye lens designed for the APS-C sensors, while the Samyang is specially designed for Micro Four Thirds. The corner that we see here is actually not the real corner of the lens, so it's slightly more inside, and therefore we are using the better portion of the whole image circle. So that's why the corner it gives the 7Artisan a bit of corner advantage compared to the Samyang. Now, because the 7Artisan is actually a fisheye lens designed for APS-C sensor. Now I compare the view angle So I fix it on the tripod and then swap the lenses. And as you can see in the screenshot here, the 7Artisan lens definitely has narrower view angle when compared to the Samyang, which is pretty much a 180-degree fisheye. The 7Artisan, I don't know the exact view angle, but you can see it is a little bit narrower. I also took my Nikon full-frame camera with a Nikon 16mm lens and shot a comparison photo from exactly the same position. And as you can see, the Samyang and the Nikon have very similar view angle. Yeah, the 7Artisan is slightly cropped. It's still pretty fisheye. You can see the things are very distorted, and it has probably, I don't know, 150 degree or something like that view angle, but it's just not the same as a true 180-degree fisheye. So yeah, depends on what you want. It may be enough, maybe not. Now, lens flare is always a problem for fisheye lenses because it has very wide view angle and extruded front element, and there's virtually the lens hole. Even if it has one, it doesn't actually provide much protection in terms of lens flare. And because the 7Artisan is a pretty cheap lens and from a new manufacturer, so to be honest, I have very low expectation in terms of flare performance. Surprisingly, it's not actually doing that bad. I took a lot of photos directly into the sun, where the sun is directly in front of the camera, or yeah, slightly off center but still in front of the camera, and sometimes like near the edge of the scene, and most of the time the lens flare is very well controlled. Like there's only minimum amount of lens flare. The contrast is good, very good, and only when I stop down, say to f8 or above, and then sometimes I got more visible lens flare. Compared to the Samyang, I think once again it does a better job in terms of flare resistant. It's still not perfect. Like you can definitely see quite a bit of flare when the sun is in front of the camera, but in comparison it does better than the 7Artisan. And in terms of the build quality, both lenses are pretty good, especially considering the price. The Samyang is the one that feels more plastic compared to the 7Artisan. Having said that, feeling plastic is one thing. I do have a bit of problem with the 7Artisan, and it's a pretty serious one, because after about I use it for about a week, one day when I took the lens out of my camera bag, when I touched the focus ring, and the focus ring, I feel something weird, because normally there is quite a bit of the what's it called, is a resistance when I try to rotate the ring, but that day when I try to rotate it, it's pretty much free. There's no resistance at all. I can freely rotate it, and then I look at it and say, oh, why is it? And then I look at it, okay, it's not changing the focus at all. So what happened is, I think one of the grub screw just become loosened, and so the focus ring become loosened. So while you can say this may be a one-off issue for just bad luck, but I do remember when I was researching about this lens and also the 7Artisans lenses in general, I remember I came across some other people also complaining they have I think this is the 15mm f1.1. The lens they receive also have the same problem. The manual focus ring just loosen, and it doesn't do anything when you try to rotate it. For that person, he tried to tighten up the screw, the grub screw. It didn't work for him, so he has to send it back. For me, luckily, I tried to tighten it, and then it seems to be working perfectly fine now. Yeah, it's been another week or so I have been using it. So far it's good, but yeah, I don't know, maybe one day we just suddenly can lose again. So yeah, that's not a very good sign, because I only have the lens for about 2 weeks or so, and because it's a fisheye lens, a lot of time I don't even need to play with the focus ring. A lot of time I just leave it at the infinity setting. So and it already have a bit of problem. So yeah, this is the first time I have a problem like this, especially on such a new lens. Hopefully do something to improve it, please, for your future lenses, because this is definitely a very serious issue. Hopefully I am actually the unlucky one and you don't have this problem. But if you do have the same problem, please leave a comment below so that we know how widespread this problem is. So when I decided to do more video contents, I bought a Panasonic G85 as the video camera and bought it with the 12-60mm kit lens. I thought the 12mm would be wide enough for me to, like, if I want to hold it like this, hold the camera like this and point it at myself, it should be wide enough. But when I actually tried it, I find it's actually still a little bit too tight. I would prefer something a bit wider. Then I put on the 7Artisans lens, and I actually really like how the video looked like because it's a lot wider. And it has a little bit of distorted fisheye view, which you may like or you don't like, but I quite like it. And because it's a fisheye lens, it has a very the depth of field is really big, so I could pretty much set the focus distance to around 1 meter, and then I can set it at f5.6 or so, and then if I point it to myself, my face is in focus, and if I turn it around and point it at something far away, and the far away object is also in focus, so I don't really need autofocus at all. So yeah, that's a very good thing if you want to do a bit of vlogging yourself as well. So yeah, definitely you could give it a try and see what you like. So overall, the lens, I think in terms of image quality, it is definitely better than my expectation for only $150 or so, and being the one of the first lenses from this manufacturer. I wasn't expecting it to be really good, and in comparison to the Samyang, it is not as good as the Samyang, but then for the price, I think it does a pretty good job. In terms of build quality, while initially I thought the build quality is pretty good, but the two issue that the focus ring would become loose after a week or so, and then the lens mount, you can actually mount it the incorrect way. So these are something that I definitely hope 7Artisans can improve for their future products. So overall, while the lens is not perfect, but consider the price, I think a lot of people would still be quite interested in this lens, because for fisheye lens, for a lot of people, it's just a fun, nice to have lens. So most people don't really want to spend too much to buy a fisheye lens because they think they are not going to use it for a lot of photos. So it's good to see a very low price but alright quality fisheye lens. Hopefully 7Artisans can improve the issues they have in the future batches. Then it'll be a very good budget lens. Thank you very much for watching this review. I hope you like it. If you like it, please click the thumbs up button and subscribe if you haven't already. And I will see you next time. Good light.